Hello everyone. In this video lesson, we are going to look at enhancing memory and understanding. How to become a better learner. How will you be able to retain the information or the knowledge which you have learned for a long time? The first important tip is physical exercise, PE. One of the best gifts which you can give your brain is physical exercise. By doing physical exercise, your neurons are able to develop and be maintained. And there are so many types of physical exercise. It can be walking, riding a bicycle, swimming, going for gym, playing football, even dancing to music, or doing some manual jobs such as gardening. All these are physical exercise. The same way these physical exercise benefits other parts of your body, they also benefit your brain, and they make your brain stronger, and your brain will be able to grasp the information and keep the information for a long period of time in your long-term memory. Another important tip for you to enhance your memory and understanding is practice. As the old saying goes, practice makes perfect. Therefore, by practicing what you are learning, you will be able to store the information in your long-term memory, and you will also be able to correct the mistakes along the way. And by practicing, I mean deliberate practice. It is not just overlearning, doing things which you already know, or doing things which are simple. You should be able to balance between the materials which are simple and the ones which are difficult for you to become a better learner. Also, another important thing when it comes to practice is when you are practicing, it means you are learning by doing. That is the hands-on approach to learning. And when you learn by doing, the information which you learn will be committed to your long-term memory and will be able to remember that information for a very long period of time. Another important tip or strategy to enhance your memory and understanding is the use of metaphor and analogy. Metaphor is relating a concept to something similar. And analogy is a comparison between one thing and another for the purpose of explanation or clarification. Now, by using metaphor and analogy, you will enhance your understanding. You will be able to understand whatever you are learning, and you will be able to make the concepts which you are learning clear. There are so many examples of metaphor and analogy, and when it comes to metaphor and analogy, it must not be perfect. It only needs to be something which will enable you to learn the concepts which you are learning and remember the concepts for a long period of time. One good example is the concept of resistance in science or in physics. When you are teaching the concept of resistance, you can use the analogy of a hosepipe. You can have two hosepipes, a hosepipe with a narrow lumen and a hosepipe with a wide lumen. The hosepipe with a narrow lumen is analogous to a thin wire, and a hosepipe with a wide lumen is analogous to a thick wire. Now, as we know, when a hosepipe is narrow, the water moves through the pipe with a lot of resistance, and it comes out of the pipe with a lot of pressure. And when you use a hosepipe with a wide lumen, the water moves through the hose pipe with less resistance and it comes out with less pressure. Now, it is the same way with resistance, electric resistance. When you have a thin wire, there is more resistance, and when you have a thick wire, there is less resistance. Another example of metaphor is the pancake. You can relate the concept of anode and cathode to a pancake, and it will be easier for you to remember. For example, in the word pancake, the P stands for positive and the A stands for anode. Therefore, by knowing that pancake is related to the concept of anode and cathode in chemistry, it will be easier for you to know which charge is the anode and which charge is the cathode. Therefore, positive is for anode and negative is for cathode. Therefore, the letter P in the word pancake is positive and A for anode. The letter N is negative and the word cake is for cathode. Another example of analogy is an oil rig. You can relate the concept of oxidation and reduction in chemistry by using the oil rig metaphor. Oxidation is losing electron, that is oil, and reduction is gaining electron, that is rig. Therefore, by remembering the word oil rig, you will be able to remember what is oxidation in terms of gaining and losing of electrons, and what is reduction in terms of gaining and losing of electrons. Oxidation is losing of electrons and reduction is gaining of electrons. Another example of metaphor and analogy in chemistry is the molecules. When you want a learner, or when you want to make yourself understand the concepts of molecule, we can use the balls to represent the atoms. And by using the model of the balls, different size of balls with different colors, you will be able to grasp the concept of molecules and the concept of atoms. Then we have the learning theory pyramid. When we look at the learning theory pyramid, we will be able to see what we have discussed about the practice using analogy and metaphor. Now, the learning pyramid has different types of learning or different styles of learning, and each style of learning has an average retention rate. At the base of the pyramid, we can see the teach other and immediate use. When you learn something by teaching others, or when you learn something and use it immediately, you will be able to retain the material which you have learned at the rate of 90%. And when you learn something by practice by doing, when you do it, you learn by doing it, you will be able to retain the material at the rate of 75%. That's why I said practice is very key. It is very important when it comes to learning. By practicing what you are learning, you will be able to retain most of the material you have learned in your long-term memory. Then we have discussions at 50% retention rate, demonstration at 30%, and audiovisual at 20%. Now, when we talk of analogy and metaphor, it comes to the demonstration aspect and the audiovisual aspect of learning. And we can see that they account for almost 50% of retention. Then we have reading, which accounts for 10%, and lecture, which accounts for only 5%. Therefore, anything which is in the form of images, such as pictures or diagram, it is the best way for you to learn a concept, because by looking at that diagram or at that picture, it makes it easier for you to commit whatever you are learning in the long-term memory, and it also makes it easier for you to remember when you want to retrieve the information which you have learned. Thank you very much.